Let's look at another scene from Friday the 13th, 1989. Here, our heroine wanders down a hallway and looks into two rooms. In the first room, she sees a fireplace. In the second room, the killer from her video game appears and scares her away. I like the way she opens the door in one take, but I prefer another take for her closing it. Since the scene cuts away to her view inside the room, we can actually use both. Notice that the squeaky door sound effect is layered under the cutaway. For her walk down the hall, I'm using a very simple visual effect. I've cut a few seconds out of the shot, then used a dissolve transition to marry them back together. This makes the shot go by a little faster and gives the scene a dreamlike quality. In the second room, she sees this terrifying sight. Here's her best reaction take. We could show the hallway, then the killer, then the reaction, but showing part of the reaction before we see the killer adds tension and helps the scene flow better. Here's the finished scene. Music is incredibly important to film. The way you use music is a big part of what defines your style of filmmaking. Music can completely transform a scene. Whether you choose your music first and then edit your footage around it, or edit your footage first and then choose your music to fit it, is up to you. You'll almost certainly end up tweaking both the footage and the music anyway. However, a good rule of thumb is to start with whatever you want the main narrative element to be. In other words, if a scene is dialogue or story-driven, start with the footage. If you're working on a montage, or if you want a scene to have a music video feel, you should probably start with the music already in place. This is Stroller, a documentary about street children in South Africa. To show how music can alter the mood of footage, we'll play a scene with a few different audio tracks. The first is from Jan Tiersen, who composed the music for the film Amelie. Tiersen's music makes the scene feel sentimental and sad. If we want the scene to have a hipper, more urban vibe, we can simply replace the music. Here's the scene with a track from British hip-hop artist Dizzy Rascal.
Yeah, and the mic's very loud. Yeah. I come direct when I inject and I'm expecting your respect. I'm a baller, you've been checked on the kind of kid you can't detect. And I go all out when I'm about, I'll put my elbow in your mouth. You're fussy, there's no doubt, I bet my sword will make you shout. I'm in touch with Bessie set, so have you hanging from a fence. Then I laugh at your expense and maybe chuck you 50 pence. Snitch, you make me switch, you sound and look just like a. Whether you're poor or whether you're rich, I leave you lying in the ditch. Cause I'm so ragged, racks, you ain't racks like me.
The scene's original music, by Fortet, is actually somewhere in between these two extremes. Here are a few tips for successful editing. Try to set a good pace in your cutting. Cutting too often or too quickly can be confusing and/or irritating. Taking too long between cuts can make your movie boring. Watch for jump cutting. Abruptly moving to a new angle of the same shot can be visually disorienting. Use cutaways or B-roll to ease the transition from shot to shot. Speaking of transitions, that star wipe may be tempting, but it can overwhelm your film. Fades and dissolves are the best bets most of the time. Imagine a vertical line in the middle of your screen. If the subject of your scene starts out on one side of this line, then later appears on the other, the scene can start to feel unnatural. On the other hand, in scenes where two people are engaged in dialogue, it's better to keep them on opposite sides of the screen. Take note of your shot's composition when you're editing. It's generally a good idea to avoid popular contemporary music in your audio editing. In addition to violating copyright laws, you run the risk of distracting your audience with music they already have a mental association with. Getting your music from local or independent sources and composing your own in a program like Soundtrack or GarageBand are great alternatives. Like transitions, video filters and effects are best handled conservatively. That being said, mediocre quality footage generally looks better in black and white. Widescreen bars can make your film look polished and professional as well. Finally, remember to periodically step away from your project and watch your progress. Resist the temptation to stop halfway through and make adjustments. It's important to see how the whole project flows together. When you think you're done editing, take some time off and then re-watch everything again. It's easy to get so close to a project that you lose perspective. Remember, filmmaking is hard work. Editing can be tedious and time-consuming, but it's incredibly rewarding to watch your film come to life. Be creative and have fun.